Welcome to Roll to Hit Gaming Monthly. Today we'll take a look back at December 2017.
This month we released a video on our 2017 gems, but that was also our 100th video, so we're really excited about that.
And we're going to give you our final update on the Shelf of Shame exercise that we've been going through this year. We're so happy to have you come along with us on this journey, and we'll have the updates coming up. For Roll to Hit Gaming, I'm Chip.
I'm Joe.
And I'm Lucas.
Well, for December, my game of the month is going to be one that actually just squeaked in yesterday. At the time of this filming, the year is almost up, so by the time it's out, probably will be the new year. But I got, and it was on the Shelf of Shame, so I got a play of First Martians by Ignacy Trzewiczek and Portal Games. It's a sort of an evolution on, or a different take on the Robinson Crusoe system, for those of you who are familiar with that. In First Martians, you are an advanced team manning a base station on Mars, and Mars is a hostile environment, of course, so your pristine base that you begin with is going to start deteriorating, and you have to manage all of the troubles that are going to come along while trying to complete the objective that you've been given for this mission. And this game comes with a number, I think it's 6 different scenarios that you can play. But it's also where Robinson Crusoe is all card-based and everything is physical from the game. First Martians actually has the app integration. So this is going to be, I think, well, I have played Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition at a friend's house. But this is really my first true experience with the app integration. So it's taking a little bit of getting used to. Mm-hmm. But the system as a whole, I love so much because Robinson Crusoe is definitely one of my favorite games. And so having that system, I think, really makes this game for me. And so I had a good time playing it. It was a little tough it's a little bit more fiddly than Robinson Crusoe. And so it took me a little bit of getting used to for the setup and the actual gameplay. But thanks to Rodney Smith, a couple of watches of his videos, and I was right along. I won my first solo scenario, right, just a squeaker right at the end. And so I'm definitely interested in seeing what else is in that box because there's so much replayability with the app integration and the different scenarios. So looking forward, and I'm looking forward to introducing you guys because I know y'all had a good time with Robinson Crusoe. Mm-hmm. That's First Martians.
How much would you say the app is? What does it do in the game?
So the app is going to give you, every turn the app is going to give you a mission event that's going to happen. And if you remember in Robinson Crusoe, you had 3 decks of adventure cards depending on whether you went hunting or you went trying to build or you went trying to explore. The app is going to handle those adventures. So when you roll those dice and the question mark comes up telling you that you would need to have drawn one of those cards, the app is going to tell you what happens.
Okay.
And so it basically just replaces that part. You're still playing on that board. You're still putting your pieces where you want to take your actions. You're still managing each system, building new things, exploring the board and uncovering. So for all of that, the physical board is still very much a part of the game. It's just really the app takes the place of 3, maybe 4 decks of cards.
Okay.
So,
yeah, and it's kind of cool too because what it does, it allows you to say when you start the mission, do you want to do easy, medium, or hard level difficulty? Mm-hmm. And I guess it's programmed to give you harder events and harder outcomes, more dangerous outcomes the further you go up that.
Okay.
So, but I never got the feeling that I was playing the app as opposed to when I played the Arkham one, Mansions of Madness. A lot of gameplay is on that app.
Right.
In First Martians, it's not. There's no gameplay in the app. The app is just informational.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Mine this month is going to be Nations, the Dice Game. And this one was printed, I think, a couple years ago, and then recently reprinted by Stronghold Games, and I picked it up at BGG-Con. And I had a chance to put it down, and I really like I've said this before, I really like the idea of civ building games, but find most of them take entirely too long and are probably too granular for me, really. This one's not. It's a simple little, you've got a handful of dice, and those are driven by what buildings or leaders or technologies or wonders or whatever it is that you've built into your civilization. You roll those, and then you know, one action at a time going around the table, you'll resolve a dice, or you've also got some little tokens that you'll get from some of your buildings and leaders and such that'll let you re-roll or give you bonus money or whatever. And you use all of that to upgrade your civilization. And when you take, say, a new building, it's going to cover one of your existing slots. So you lose what you did have, but you gain whatever the new one gave you, you know, and you kind of upgrade that way and see how you want to go. I really like the way they put all these pieces together into a 15, 20-minute game. And, you know, each one of the turns is just bop, 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 bop. Everything flows nicely. You get a little touch of that civ building thing, you know, on a smaller scale. And for me, I thought it was really fulfilling. I also picked up the Unrest expansion, which adds a boatload more buildings and leaders and all of that stuff. But it adds a new die type. And basically, in the one game where I played with Unrest so far, I took assassins, and I added those to my empire. And I thought it was particularly thematic because your government is employing this shady means of meeting its objectives, so it gives you this unrest die. And basically, the only thing is, one of the 6 sides of that green die has a fist on it.
Okay.
And if you roll that, when at the beginning of your turn, if any of your dice have fists on them, you have to either roll them or they move to your used area. So, you know, it can slow you down a little bit, making you roll those or make you lose some dice. But all of the other sides have 2 resources each on those sides rather than just one. So I thought it added some versatility too. It also added some tiles to give a bonus to the person who passes first, and then kind of some annual events. If you can meet these criteria, you get bonus points at the end of the turn. Overall, a really fun little package, a nice, quick little dice version of a Civ Builder. I enjoyed it.
How does it compare to Roll Through the Ages?
Honestly, I thought I enjoyed it more. And I'm going to say that only because, with each of the tiles that you bring into your civilization has art on it. And there's a visual appeal to nations that Roll Through the Ages doesn't have, because it's just roll dice and tick things off on your board. I think that made me enjoy it more. It's been a while since I played Roll Through, so I'd have to do that again to try to compare the two. Right now, it being fresh in my mind, I think I'd put it slightly above.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, we played it together, but you've also played it in solo.
Yeah.
So, how did that variant go?
I really liked the solo mode. You know, it came with a D4, and we played multiplayer first. And I'm scouring through these rules trying to figure out, what is this 4-sided dice for? Well, it turns out it's for the solo game.
Oh, okay.
But, on the technology board, if you play with fewer than 4 players, you're only going to fill up the first 3 columns with tiles that can be purchased. And then there's a 4th one that will be blank unless you're playing with 4 players. In the solo game, after each action, you roll that 4-sided dice, and you take the cheapest tile from each column, and the dummy player, the shadow player, as they call it, takes that away. So it kind of simulates some interaction with the second player. So, but it's kind of interesting because there are times where you say to yourself, I need this tile right here to add this building, but I really want this one too. And you've got to kind of weigh the risk of taking this one, rolling that die, and if you roll right, that the shadow player may take that. So it kind of does pretty well simulate another player taking those buildings and somewhat interfering with your plans. And with the Unrest expansion, they can claim those. You put the pass first tiles above each column, and if that column is empty, they claim that pass first tile. So they might make the famine at the end of the year worse, or the war at the end of the year worse, or something on you. So if they grab those, I thought it was a really good way to simulate a second player in a solo game without burdening you with all this extra crap you got to do just to make it work. So,
and this is a winner by victory points, or?
Yeah. You get so many victory points, and then they have a chart, from Dan Quayle all the way up through, I can't remember the top one, but some great leader, and you rate yourself on that scale.
Okay.
Right? So,
Poor Dan Quayle.
I know. But that's my Nation's the Dice game.
Well, my game of the month is Kanagawa. This is a game by Yellow. It's a card drafting and your pattern building, set collection, and worker placement. It actually has a worker placement element. But basically, you've joined this Japanese art school, and you're trying to impress the artist, and he's trying to teach you how to be a better painter. And you're going through And with your, and you're collecting pieces of either your studio, like you can have more brushes, or you master knowledge of a season, or painting a specific animal type or landscape, or you can flip it to the other side and you can add it to your actual painting. And you are trying to collect 11 cards to complete that painting, and then based on what's next to each other, is it an autumn season or fall season or summer season, does it have deer in it, does it have a landscape, a person, a portrait, and you're just kind of building this very pretty picture as you're building your studio. And it was just very charming. And it was a little bit of a puzzle because you're trying to connect things together to get the most points out of it. And so I really enjoyed that one. It was Kanagawa.
Yeah, I liked there are these tiles that look almost like sticks of gum that you put out on the table, and there are 2 or 3 in each category, and it might be, have these 3 animals in your painting, and you can score this tile. And there'll be 3 of them, maybe 3, 5, and 7 victory points. Now, the 3 will be the easiest, and as soon as you qualify for it, you have to decide, do I want those 3 victory points and I score that objective, or do I want to go for a bigger one in that category, making that one forever unavailable to me now? So it's kind of, do I take the points that I've earned, or do I say, I'm going to see if I can get some better points out of that category? That was pretty cool, too.
Very nice. Very nice.
And those are our games of the month for December 2017.
Well, we're 12 months out now, and this is our final update on the 2017 Shelf of Shame. We started off with 116 games. Actually, we started off with a few more, and I wanted to give a quick explanation of what happened to our numbers. Early on, we decided that we took a look. The first thing we did was we just took every game that we had never played and put it on the shelf. Every box that was on that shelf that we had never opened or played went on the list. Then we started doing some thinking, and we said, you know what, let's go ahead and let's eliminate the expansions and take those off. And so that dropped us down a little bit. I think our original number was 119, 121 maybe. So we took off our expansions, and then later on it just came down. We had 3 games that were added through a Secret Santa thing. And they really don't match the likings of any of us. And so we said, you know what? We're just never going to play these, even because they're on our shelf. We're just going to get rid of them. So we took 3 titles off because of that, and that left us with 116. So as a official starting point of 116. Over the course of 2017, we have played 135 games that made it to the shelf.
Yep.
And that is because we have added 97 throughout the year. So this month, our update, we're actually even 9 added, being Christmas, and 9 played. So there's no movement there. But our final tally for 2017 is... starting at 116, we have 84 games left on our Shelf of Shame. Yep. Now, we've discussed it, and we said that the trigger point is 100. So the year 2018 will not be a Shelf of Shame year, but I'm sure it will quickly become one for 2019. Probably. But we had such a good time doing this, and we wanted to use this last update to have a little discussion about what we thought of the experiment as a whole, and then talk about some of our highlights and some of our letdowns from the games that were on our shelf. And so, Lucas, do you want to get us started with that?
Yeah, as far as the exercise as a whole, this was Chip's brainchild. So he's the one that came up with this idea. And it was a pretty good one because, as you can see by us adding 97 this year, we're not going to slow down, though we may have gotten a little more selective at what we pick up than we used to be, especially based on, what we learned of various games this year that we played. But the idea was a good one because that was just growing, and a lot of money spent on things that hadn't been used. So it was a neat exercise. There were times throughout the year that it kind of gave me some anxiety, because I might want to play this, but we've got this whole challenge thing going, and at the end of each month, or you see them at the beginning of each month, we're reporting back on what we played last month, and we don't want to look like idiots who just add games and never play them and all that stuff. So there was a little bit of taking, give and pull there. I enjoyed the process. I'm glad that we don't have to do it again next year.
Okay. So, Joe, what did you think about just the exercise as a whole of the Shuffle Show?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. What was really good for me was I always considered myself a gamer, but we normally played the Magic and the Blood Bowl and such that. So this exercise, us playing 135 games this year, it really refined my palette on and let me discover for myself what I liked, what type of games I like, so I can be more, informed when I go to a game store and pick out a new game. And I know what you like, and I know what you like. So it really just broadened my horizons and just made the entire year more enjoyable because I had something to look forward to more so than every weekend.
Right.
You're like, ooh, we're going to play this weekend again. What are we going to do this time?
Yeah, I agree with that as well. And like you said, Lucas, there were weekends where we go, man, I really want to play Great Western Trail again. But, that's a 2-hour segment where we could be playing another game on our shelf. And it got frustrating. Really, it did. But I am glad. I'm proud of the progress that we made. And had a really good time throughout the year. So let's talk about highlights.
Okay.
So Lucas, give us a highlight from the list of ones that stood out for you.
How big is that list?
List is pretty extensive. Both lists are pretty extensive. I'm going to go with my first highlight. Was back at the beginning of the year. We played a game that we picked up the year prior at BGG Con because Tasty Minstrel had reprinted it, and that was At the Gates of Loyang.
Okay.
And that was my first Uwe Rosenberg game. Since then, I have found every one of his Euro games I can and tried to expose myself to it because I loved this game, and I've loved most of the ones that we've played after that as well. But, cool theme, a designer that, frankly, I was a little afraid of, based on what you hear people talk about on the internet about how his games are so intimidating. I guess I just gel with his design style because they don't intimidate me. I find them really enjoyable, and At the Gates of Loyang was kind of my entry point to finding a designer I really liked.
It was very charming to developing the crops and going up the prosperity track. It was good.
Yeah. Joe, what do you got?
Let's see here. One of the highlights I had, pickup and delivery had always sounded, kind of dull to me. And then this guy over here introduced us to Firefly.
Oh, yeah.
The game. And that was pickup and delivery on an epic scale.
Yeah.
And it added so much more than just pick up here and go here. I mean, we were misbehaving and we were pushing our luck and taking chances and exploring and dodging reavers. And the whole experience was just amazing. And it's one of those games where I got a taste of it. And now I want to get that to the table as much as possible. I really did enjoy Firefly.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot too. There's a, it is pick up and deliver, so you're always thinking ahead of, okay, I got to go here. But man, it's tense because you got those reavers coming up, or, do I really want to move this much and risk, something bad happening, or sometimes something good happens when you move. So yeah, very, very cool game. This was one that I picked up and I'm looking at it. I'm like, yeah, I just got to go get all the expansions. So, we have most everything so far. So, really good game. I'm like you. Let's get it to the table again. Let's introduce this guy to it.
So, I was going to ask, would folks who are not familiar with or not fans of Firefly enjoy playing the game?
I think so.
Yeah,
I mean, it still has the cheeky humor, and even though you may not understand the joke, you can easily get into the world.
Yeah. I think that if you don't like Firefly, maybe you wouldn't like it. But if you just had no experience with it, I think you could kind of explain to them This is Western in space,
Mm-hmm.
and it's plucky, and and I think they would have a good time. And the system itself, I think, is good. Because like Joe said, it's more than just pick up and deliver. Because really, if it was just pick up and deliver, it would be kind of dull. But but it gives you missions to accomplish, and you can try to manage your relationships with the different mission givers, and there's a lot of things that can be done.
Build up your crew,
building your crew,
and a lot of it's push your luck. Even with the choice of the crew member, he could be a criminal, right?
Yeah.
Which is going to hurt you if you run into the Alliance.
Yeah.
So,
a lot of choices. A lot of choices. Yep, good game. So one of mine is going to be one that you guys actually gave me as a birthday present. I think it was a birthday present. And that's Carson City, the big box. Man, oh man, I like this game. Now, so I'll admit, my favorite video game in the world has to be the original SimCity for the Super Nintendo. And I like Western theme. And Carson City really comes close to giving me that SimCity feel of building up the little town of Carson City while doing everything else as well, But I just like the flow of the game. I like how the board gets tight on you real quick. I like how the buildings can evolve to become more valuable or more, to pay off more. And I like the host of different actions that you can choose to take. Just a really cool game all around. And the big box, the components of it are just outstanding. So I want to thank y'all again for that gift. And the Carson City big box, and specifically the big box, would be one of my real favorites from our list.
Yeah, we plugged everything. I'm sorry, we didn't plug everything in. No. We played the base game of that. I'd like to plug everything in there. And see how that works. I think my favorite part of that one was the action selection or the worker placement bit at the beginning, where you're choosing to place on these various spaces, and then it's going to unfold in a certain order. And the planning that had to go into that. I enjoyed that.
Yep.
A lot of Western games have come out in this last year. Wouldn't you say that is it one of the new fads, you think, coming out?
It could be, yeah. I mean, there has been...
Because for a while it was zombies.
Yeah,
and then,
it was the year of zombies and the year of Vikings, and then, Western.
Western and...
Space now.
Space now.
Yeah. Lucas, give us another favorite.
I'm going to go with... I'm going to freely admit that... I discriminate against games that come in small packages. I'm just going to openly say that. A little box on the shelf is a really good chance I'm just going to walk right by that, and I don't care. There was a Kickstarter at some point, maybe in 2016, but we got the game last year, that caught my eye because it was a worker placement game in a mint tin, and it was $8. So I said, you know what? This goes against my normal rule of hating small games, but I'm going to risk my $8 here and see, because I really, really do like worker placement. And this game changed my mind. This is a mint tin full of an amazing, quick, fun, engaging worker placement game. I had a great time. I backed the follow-up that's due out next year, Mint Delivery, and couldn't be more excited to be a fan of it. Mintworks is a great little game.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
And the solo version of it is very challenging.
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't expect it being, just worker placement, because that's kind of the only mechanic, I think, that's in it. But worker placement in solo mode is hard.
Yeah, it is. It's a great game. Come to find out, so Board Game Geek ran a contest of who could design a game that would fit inside a mint tin, and this is where this was born. And it didn't even win. It didn't win that contest, right?
Yeah.
But, it was picked up. And, a really cool game. They kickstarted it and it funded. And now we have one coming out soon, the Mint Delivery. So I'm looking forward to that. Joe, what do you got? Another one.
Okay, so this one is from several years ago. And it's something that I've been really jonesing to play for a long time. And that's Chaos in the Old World. Particularly when it came out with the expansion of the Horned Rat, because I'm a Skaven player. We finally got it to the table, and it delivered exactly what I wanted it to. You're basically trying to put your God's influence into the world. So, being the horned rat, it's, chaos, and then we had Nurgle, and they were spreading disease, and then chaos was spreading war.
Gifts.
Gifts.
Mhm.
The gifts of war.
Mhm.
So, you're going across the landscape, and you're trying to take it over.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
You're
take
trying
it
to
away.
ruin the world.
Trying
right?
to ruin the world better than the other gods. And the flavor was there.
Mhm.
The lore was there, and you just have a ton of fun just laying waste or laying waste everywhere. So Chaos in the Old World was delivered everything I wanted it to, and it's something I want to play again.
Yeah, I almost picked this one for my game of the month. It's asymmetric when it comes to the actual player options,
time,
right?
Mm-hmm.
Khorne is much different than Nurgle, is much different than Tzeentch and all that. And so I think there's a lot of replayability there, just delving in and finding out how to play those.
How the different,
right?
Yep.
I had a really good time, and want to get it to the table again.
Yeah, and I think it connects so well with us because of our familiarity with the source material.
Yeah, sure.
On that front, the theme just worked.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you weren't familiar with Games Workshop products and the story of Chaos and all that. I don't know if maybe you need that to have it be a good time. But
we talked after. If you like the new Godfather Corleone's Empire, I really see the roots of that game in this one.
Yeah. And it's an Eric Lang game.
It is.
Yeah.
With the heavy player interaction. So if
Mhm.
you enjoy that heavy player interaction, you may not need the theme to enjoy this one.
Yeah. You can definitely see his area control and interaction
Mm-hmm.
porting over to Godfather. Well, I'm talking about Godfather. I'm going to pick this one. We played 2 different Godfather games this year off the Shelf of Shame. One I think is probably going to end up very high on your favorite list when we come out with that in January. But the other one was a little dice game version.
I got this on my list too.
Do you?
Yep,
okay,
I do.
So it's a Godfather, A New Dawn,
Mm-hmm.
and man, I really like this game. It doesn't take long to play, but you really get a feel for the mobster Godfather. Put him in the Hudson. Kind of thing, and I don't mind
dice area control game.
Yeah, it's a dice area control game. Now, I don't mind dice games. I'm cool with it, folks. If you do not like dice and random games, this has got a lot of it, so you're probably not gonna like it. But man, it's really cool. It's a neat game and a neat implementation of the Godfather, and so I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Well, the cool thing about it too is you can mitigate
Mm-hmm.
a lot of it, right? Because if you're the Don, then and someone asks you, hey, I need some 5s.
Yeah.
You can kind of trade those out, or you can tell them, no, you can't have that.
Mm-hmm.
And all the while the Don is gathering his points,
right,
before you go to Vegas. So
Yeah, that one was a gift because she knows how much I love the source material.
Yep.
And it sat there for a while, and I saw all the other reviews of it, and they were like universally negative, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, this one's going to be sucky. And then we played it, and it was like, that was such a great time. What is wrong with these people? So, don't always listen to. I say this when we review games. Don't always listen to what people are telling you about something. You can find some real gems out there if you're willing to give them a shot.
Well, give us one last one, Lucas.
So if this is going to be my last one, I think I'm going to, from this massive list here, I'm going to call out Legacy Testament of Duke de Crecy.
Okay.
I really enjoyed this. We were talking before we went on the air tonight about some genealogy and trying to figure out ancestry and stuff like that. And that's kind of what this one is. This guy is writing a letter. When you open the box, you find a letter from him, and he tells you that he spent his entire life working behind the scenes so that others could prosper and succeed. And as a result, his family name is dead.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knows who he is or what he did or what his family did. So what you're doing here is you're trying to marry off your children to, into prominent other families and gain assets and build that legacy so that by the end of it, you can say this is who we are and what we did and what we owned and all that good stuff, right? So I enjoyed that process. I thought there were some neat twists along the way. There's a lot of match this with this to gain points in there. So it kind of gives you a little bit of that interesting puzzle. Combine that with a theme that I really, really enjoyed, and that'd be a big time highlight for me. Legacy Testament of Duke Nukriti.
Yeah, you had spoken so highly of this one. I really want to play it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was really
It's table
cool.
hog.
It is a table hog,
Yeah.
but it was really cool. If you can marry off this girl to like a baron of Romania, then this will give you this.
Okay.
And then they have 3 kids, maybe.
Nice.
Is it a guy is it a boy or is it a girl? Do you marry her off? It's the whole thing.
You'll come to a point where you're like, I need sons, I need
kids.
daughters.
Confession, I am a huge fan of Downton Abbey, so I think maybe I'll get into that.
It ended too soon, though. For
Yeah.
me, it's like I was building for this.
Yeah, you
massive,
build like 3 generations.
You only build
right?
3 generations, so I was building for this final
Right.
score, and to be like, game's over, and I went, no.
Hate it when that happens. Okay, well, give us one last one, Joe, from your list.
As far as a highlight,
Yeah.
okay, so I have mentioned this before in previous videos, but honestly, I love this game so much, and it's Escape from 100 Million BC.
Okay.
It's that being in a spaceship, going back in time, back to prehistoric Earth. Your time ship, crashes on a volcano, and you have to go and pick up the parts. But you ripped back in time. You brought back, guns and medicine and pocket watches, and what was another one of the characters that
Albert
came
Einstein.
back? Albert Einstein.
Yeah.
He got ripped back too. So you're trying to gather all these parts while exploring the area, but there are dinosaurs. There's herbivores, carnivores, ones from the swamp, ones from the oceans that you have to explore that are wanting to eat you. So you have to, you don't want to kill them, because then you open up a paradox. You need to get the stuff back out of there, like the guns and the medicine, and if you don't, that'll open a paradox. So even if you put all the gears together and you fix your time machine and you get out of there, everything you leave behind adds to the paradox. And then at the very, very end, wherever you land, you see what your future now looks like because of everything that you left behind. It's really fun. It's really entertaining. I really love this game. Escape from 100 Million BC.
Yeah, and how bad luck can you get that your time machine crash landed on a volcano?
That's about to erupt.
Yeah. I'm thinking like, the cartoon is running in my head, right? So it crash lands and plugs the volcano. And now the volcano is building the pressure,
up.
ready just to
You can see
explode.
it jiggling.
Yeah. And you can see it, trembling. Yeah. What a game. Well, so my final one, one, you talk about one that you thought was just probably going to be a really crappy game. But really, this one turned out to be one that I just had so much fun with, and that is Sons of Anarchy, Men of Mayhem.
Oh my God.
I watched like the first season of this show, and I don't know anything about biker culture or whatever, I'm definitely not part of it, but this game just had everything in it that I thought that lifestyle would have, right? So you're peddling guns and you're peddling contraband. It's bags of something, I don't know.
Cheetos.
Yeah, and you got your gang members and your recruits, and you're fighting other gangs and all this, and all of the tiles on the map gets built from these tiles. They look like beer coasters from a bar,
Yep.
Man, it just the theme was in the components, right?
Yeah, it was.
And the gameplay was pretty good too. Area control, and there, you fight it out to win control. You can't be on the same tile as another player, so you got one of you has to either leave or you got to have a fight. But I enjoyed the game. It's a real quick play. Maybe, I don't know, Joe, what did it take us? 45 minutes?
45 minutes. Yeah.
Something like that.
Oh, wow.
And it's something that, you go, to the wall with somebody and you're fighting, you end up in the hospital,
Yeah.
If you don't go to the hospital to get your guys out of there,
they'll die.
they're going to die.
Yeah. It was just a good time, fun. And it is from Gale Force 9. And so it made me look back and say, Gale Force 9, they did Firefly. And they do a lot of intellectual property games, right? And at least for these two, Firefly and Sons of Anarchy, I really think they did a great job and had much fun playing both.
The theme
of them.
really bleeds through well with Gale Force 9.
Yeah. So Sons of Anarchy, Men of Mayhem, that's going to be my last highlight from the Shelf of Shame.
So now let's talk about some letdowns that we encountered coming along the 2017 Shelf of Shame. And I'm going to start with one that kind of rides the line between high point and letdown, and that's Quadropolis.
Okay.
And the reason it's on this list is because I really liked it, but I was let down because nobody else did.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I put it on there. I enjoyed the game, but everybody else, when it was over, they were just kind of like, next. So, yeah. Quadropolis.
I think I just wanted more from it.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, my favorite game being SimCity. Any kind of city building game, I'm instantly drawn to. And that one just kind of, you know, I was like, oh, well, okay. If it had more.
Right.
Yeah. But Joe, what do you think?
Actually, Subdivision
Mm-hmm,
was a disappointment for me. I really enjoyed Suburbia.
Yeah.
You know, because you're building up your area. Well, with Subdivision, you're building up your neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Just, you know, you're kind of like your city block. And it was just all tile placement, and it had to be like this. You get more points if it's next to this. If this is next to this, and if this, I don't know. It just seems drawn out, a little monotonous, and I don't know. It was so far away from the enjoyment I had with Suburbia that I don't know. Subdivision was just a letdown.
What got me on that one is Suburbia is very unique in the tiles. So you've got a municipal airport, you've got a regional airport, you have a high school, a college, a university.
Yep.
You know, you have a lot of uniqueness in those tiles. With Subdivision, you have 3 type of tiles. You know, and they're all the same. Like every residential is just residential. Every commercial is just commercial. You know, and I think
trees.
in a crop tree or a park or
or
something,
a pond or something,
or a street. And I think that the stripping away of all uniqueness is really what did it in for me.
It was very bland.
Yeah, because I'm like you, I loved Suburbia.
Yeah,
you know?
I did too. Suburbia is kind of abstract. Subdivision took the kinda and just ramped it up. It took all the soul out of it and made it completely abstract.
Yeah.
And I didn't enjoy it either.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about one game that I'm let down from is because it was on our list and we didn't actually get it to the table this year.
Okay.
And it was the first one that we said we were probably going to play, and that's from Academy Games. It's Freedom, the Underground Railroad.
Oh, that's right.
You know, we've played a lot of Academy Games this year, and
enjoyed them.
We've really enjoyed every one of them. We haven't got Freedom to the table yet. And for those of you who don't know, it's a story about the Underground Railroad and trying to get slaves to freedom while dodging slave catchers and things like that. And Academy Games, they do historical games that teach very well. You know, they and even in their rule books and things, they have a lot of information about what this game, the time period it covers, and what was happening. And so I'm really pumped to play this game. And man, am I let down that after a whole year,
we still haven't done it.
We never got it to the table.
Yeah, interesting. Cool thing about that game, I think he told us at BGG-Con that the Library of Congress gift shop was going to start selling this game. Really cool.
Yeah, it
really
is.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's mine. Give us one more, Lucas.
Okay, so since I'm restricted to only one last one, I'm just going to go ahead and drop the bomb. There's a certain podcast that Chip and I have listened to for years, and on numerous occasions they have raved about this little bootleggers game. And we managed to acquire this thing in a math trade. And I'm going to tell you what, they are wrong. This game is garbage. It is random with crap components, zero fun, and full of take that. It is not in this house, and I did not have the meanness in me to trade it to somebody else, so you can use your imagination on what happened to it. Stay away from bootleggers. It is a terrible, terrible, terrible experience.
Yeah, it's on my list too. It was just a real letdown.
Yeah. I may put the little man with the fire head in.
And it had so much potential. You know, I mean...
Well, the idea, the theme is cool, right? You know, but, man, none of it's there.
Yeah.
Random take that.
You want to say anything about it? Or?
It wasn't that bad.
It's pretty bad.
You just had to plan ahead a lot.
All right, well, give us one last disappointment.
Okay, so this game, the board art, I mean the box art was just exciting.
Okay.
Right? and it looked fantasy themed, and it had these adventurers, and they were all chest puffed up, and they were ready to go into battle. And I'm like, yes, this is going to be amazing. And it wasn't. It was not like I wanted it to be. It's Hyperborea.
Okay.
So I got suckered in by the box cover, but once you open it up, it's very. How would you describe it? I mean, it's tile placement, and you have the little blocks.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
a bag builder, but it's very abstracted.
It's very abstract. There wasn't an iota of adventure.
Yeah, you don't do anything that box art sells you on.
Yeah. I didn't get to experience it, but like y'all said, looking at the box art, you're like, oh, this is like a dungeon delver or some
amazing.
Some adventure game. Yeah, and all this. Apparently, it's not.
The box art sold me because it looked like Gauntlet.
Yes.
Right? And no, it's not Gauntlet.
Okay.
No, you could literally put anything on it.
You could.
And it wouldn't have changed the gameplay at all. So that was a disappointment for me. I was really hyped up for Hyperborea, and it wasn't what I thought it was.
Well, my final disappointment has to be one that I kickstarted, and that's Viceroy. I had such high hopes for this game, and I still think the concept is neat, but the way that they implemented an auction in this game just completely ruined it for me. I don't understand, and I don't like the idea of an auction where if you lose, you still lose your bid. To me, that's not an auction. That's paying
extortion
for something and not getting a product, right? And the trouble with Viceroy is the auction selection is 4 items. Well, if you're playing with 4 players, the chances, and basically what happens is if you pick the same color as your opponent, then you get one more opportunity to pick something else. And if you still pick the same thing, you both lose, right? And even if you lose, you still lose your bid. And the chances in a 4-player game of you doing that is almost guaranteed every turn. And it gets so frustrating of doing that, right? And so that just really tanked it for me. I mean, I like the idea of acquiring these cards and building this pyramid and connecting different things. That's cool. But man, that auction mechanic just ruined it. And we traded it off pretty quickly because of it.
So, this is one of those. Here's something I learned this year with this whole Shelf of Shame thing, playing all these different new to us games rather than just playing our favorite games over and over again. There's a lot of good games out there.
Yeah.
And when halfway through the game, the people playing it start trying to figure out how they can redesign it to find fun in it, we just don't have time for that.
Yeah.
There's only so much leisure time that everyone has. Spend it playing games you enjoy.
Yeah.
Viceroy is a beautiful game.
Yes, visually. The artwork is amazing.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
The taking out the auction piece, every other piece of it, you're building your adventure tree, you're connecting the colors to make gems to get you points. That whole thing is brilliant. It's beautiful. Yes, the auction thing just destroyed it. And you have to house rule it if you're going to have fun, I think, with Viceroy. But everything else
is cool.
Was amazing.
Yep.
Just that one piece.
Yep.
So, I would have liked to kept the game just for the cards, and I would have framed them because they were so pretty.
Well, I'll tell you this. So, while milling around our friendly local game store, I saw there's a new game that has come out by the same company, and apparently they hired the same artist. It is the same art.
Okay.
And the game is called Bastion, and it is a completely different game. It's not the Pyramid of Power thing, but all that art is the same. So you might take a look at that and just see if that blows your hair back.
Because that art was so
yes, it was
so pretty.
And that's why I got into Kickstarter. The Kickstarter grabbed me with that art,
with the art, and the pyramid. That was cool.
And it was just a letdown. So anyway, that's a little recap of our yearly experiment. We're so glad that you followed along with us. We won't be doing it again next year, but probably in 2019 you can be.
We'll be doing it again.
We'll probably be doing it again, but we do have a lot in store for 2019, and we're glad to have you come along. We'd love it. Let's talk about what we need to still do the final Bad Board Game Description Challenge.
That is correct.
And do we have anything before that?
Let's get to that right after this.
All right, folks, the final bad board game description challenge for 2017 is here. This is a description of a bad board game. Not a description of a bad board game, a bad description of a board game. How about that? And so we have a thing going. If you are a member of Board Game Geek, if you are the first to comment down below with the correct answer to this board game, give me your BGG user account and I will send 100 shiny Geek Gold your way. So for December, here we go. In this game, one player takes on the role of intergalactic exterminators, helping folks clear their spaceships of man-eating bugs. Will you maintain your imperial license to cleanse, or will you become host to the bug's offspring? So if you know the answer to that, be the first to comment down below. And if you're a member of BGG, we'll send you 100 Geek Gold for your trouble.
And on that happy note, just to let you know, coming up soon is another video, and it'll be our 2018 most anticipated games coming up.
Yeah, before we close out here, 12 times this year he has given that spiel about not a description of a bad board game,
But
per se, so whatever he says, and she's laughed 12 times. So I don't know why, but that's stuck with me every time.
It's the way he delivers it.
Yeah. Also coming up soon, we're going to kick off our 2018 edition of our 50 favorite games. And counter to the way we do our favorite 15 lists, we're not going to compare these lists. So there'll be plenty of surprises along the way.
Crossover,
and let me tell you what, 2017 brought the wrecking ball of change to that
Lots
list.
of change.
So make sure you tune in for that. Lots of change in that list. That'll be coming up in January. Thanks for joining us this year for Roll to Hit Gaming. I'm Lucas.
I'm Joe.
And I'm Chip. Thanks for watching.